There are currently about 100,000 American troops on the ground in Afghanistan. And next month, President Obama plans to start withdrawing some of those forces. But the White House has not given any official word on how many troops will start to come home. A CBS News poll out Wednesday found more than half of Americans say we should no longer be involved in Afghanistan. And less than a quarter believe U.S. troop levels should remain the same there. For more on this, we are joined by CBS News consultant Jere Van Dyke. Thanks for being with us, Jere.
Good morning, Betty.
This is a critical decision for President Obama. How big of a drawdown do you think we're going to see?
I don't think we're going to see too many at all. Maybe something about 5,000 in that range. To look real closely with Senator McCain, who would represent the conservative element in Congress, he said 3,000. We had Secretary of Defense Robert Gates in his farewell tour in Afghanistan said, I would only draw down some of the support, not at the shooters at all. This is too delicate. Everything is too fragile. We must keep our troops there.
Ryan Crocker, the president's pick to be ambassador to Afghanistan, says we cannot walk away like we did in the 80s, which gave rise to the Taliban. So that being the case, at least that thought being out there, can the U.S. stay involved for years to come?
It depends. It depends really when it comes down to it what the American public will put up with. The problem is that, yes, we left in 1989 when the Soviets left. We backed the Mujahideen. Many of the Mujahideen evolved into what became the Taliban. So we use this term blowback. We supported these people and now they have come back to haunt us. We are very much afraid that this might occur again. Ryan Crocker, who worked very closely with General Petraeus in Baghdad, has long experience in this world, and when he worked in Pakistan, and I remember very vividly when I was there in 2007 at the embassy, he said, Pakistan is the murkiest country in which I've ever worked. The countries surrounding Afghanistan, Pakistan, Russia, China, Iran, do not want the United States to negotiate with the Taliban. They are afraid of what would happen if the United States would leave. It's an extremely complex situation for the president.
Let's talk about the money now, because a Senate panel has released a report saying that the U.S. has given $19 billion in aid to Afghanistan, and that money, in part, has been wasted in country. Also, if the U.S. withdraws, it could send that country into a recession. So all of this taken into account, can the U.S. continue to maintain a presence there?
It has no choice. It has to maintain a presence in the eyes of the national security establishment. If we leave, we're going to, and this is the reason why we went there in the first place. We went there to prevent al-Qaeda from reestablishing itself in Afghanistan and thereby sending troops or sending in some way harm to the United States. We have to prevent that. Can we keep this, as what Senator Kerry said in his statement before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee today, can we continue to sustain this? Is it proportional to our national security interests? That's what it comes down to. $20 billion, $2 billion a week now it's costing the United States military. This is the vast sum of money there. The aid that we're spending is far less, $320 million a month. Can we sustain this? In the long term, politically, no. In the short term, yes.
Okay, so how does the U.S. get out of Afghanistan then?
The only way the United States can get out of Afghanistan is if it comes to terms with Pakistan, where the center of al-Qaeda, the center of the Taliban, in the center of these ancillary groups tied to the Taliban, the Haqqani network, the Hekmatyar people, they're all headquartered in Pakistan. Until such time as we deal with that, we cannot exit from what is becoming, as you made very clear now, not just a military quagmire, but a financial quagmire. We have been there for 10 years. We're going to be there for much longer. In 2001, when we went in, the CIA went in at the very beginning. They carried in suitcases with $70 million. And President Bush said, that's all it took to overthrow this country. And everybody was so happy. Little did we realize that this old Afghan saying, which I've heard many years ago when I first went there, Afghanistan is very easy to enter and very hard to leave.
That's something we're seeing right now. Okay, I want to touch on something that you mentioned is Pakistan, because the Afghan President Hamid Karzai is visiting that country on Friday. What are those meetings about and how important is that visit?
I don't know how important this particular visit is, but the fact that they are talking is so important. Many people in our national security establishment feel, and I tend to agree with this in some respect, that the goal of Pakistan is to colonize Afghanistan. It wants to prevent itself from being surrounded there by India. India wants no part of that. Until such time as Afghanistan and Pakistan come to an understanding, and the only way this understanding is going to go forward is if the presidents of those two countries, Zardari in Pakistan and Karzai in Afghanistan, come to an understanding that this war cannot be won until such time as we agree with one another, that we stop fighting one another, then this war will continue. What it comes down to, in very simple terms, is the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan, established in 1893 by the British, has never been accepted by one single Afghan legislature. Pakistan wants that border there, Afghanistan does not, and they have to work this out. I know it sounds a bit complicated, but this is so important, and as long as they're talking, they will not necessarily fight. They have to keep talking.
Yeah, definitely have to keep talking. All right, CBS News consultant Jere Van Dyke, thanks so much for your insight. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, Betty.